And I wonder again, has the Prime Minister been following a false prophet, a fake guru? See, in pushing his voice, he's listened very much to Garawa Yunupingu. Yunupingu was the big man of the Yungu people of Arnhem Land and chairman of the Northern Land Council for 25 years, and was demanding a voice in a treaty from Labor Prime Ministers for many, many years. Bob Hawke, whatever. Yunupingu died this year, and Albanese described him at the time as near godlike.
Now Yunupingu is gone, but the Gurtha, the great tongue of flame and truth with which he spoke to us, is still here, and it lights the path ahead for us. We will never again hear his voice anew, but his words, and indeed his legacy, will keep speaking to us.
Now, Albanese last weekend went back again to the Gama Festival in Arnhem Land, founded by Yunupingu, who's glorified there and is almost a saint, and he promised again to fight for the voice no matter these sinking poles. But who is Albanese's guru really? Because I think we can learn some lessons here. Joining me is Keith Windschuttle, who's an historian, an author and editor of the Quadrant magazine. He's written a 3-part series on the real Garawa Yunupingu. Keith Windschuttle, thank you for your time. The Prime Minister says Garawa Yunupingu, well, has died, but is still lighting our way ahead. And he often refers to him in almost hushed terms of reverence. In your opinion, what does the life of Yunupingu actually tell us? Is he an inspiration or a warning?
Well, I think he tells us, he gives us a warning about how things in remote communities can become very badly affected by a big man who is out not for his clans and not for the Aboriginal population generally, but primarily for himself. Yunupingu was the chairman of the Land Council, the Northern Land Council in the Northern Territory for 25 years, and he spent that time giving the royalties from the local mine and aluminium smelting company primarily to himself. He became a very rich man, and I'm not sort of making this up. All of this was revealed in court cases where the clans who missed out on these royalties took him to court. They failed to win because the Land Rights Act was all in Yunupingu's favour, but he provided himself and a small group of his own family with millions and millions of dollars, and the rest of his relatives, including brothers and sisters, of which he had quite a few, they were left in poverty in the island where they inhabited on the Gove Peninsula, and he didn't care about sharing the wealth that he gained from being Land Council chair with anyone but himself, his 4 wives, who lived in 4 separate houses, and he inhabited. And the thing that got me interested in this story, quite a few months ago now, was the fact that he had a helicopter pad at the front of his mansion in Melville Bay, on the Gove Peninsula, and he had a pilot on hand, and each day, at the end of each day, he would decide which of his wives he would visit, and he got into his helicopter and was driven there by his full-time pilot. It's a story that has been repeated. I'm not the first person who said this. There's been some very good investigative journalists in the past. Elizabeth Windhausen on the Australian in the 1990s, and Jennifer Sexton again on the Australian newspaper in the early 2000s. They've exposed this time and again, but it just hasn't sunk into the current generation. And the person who's made the biggest fool of himself is our unfortunate Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese.
Now, as you say, this went through courts. They eventually they fizzled out because courts were ruling, well, you might not like the way he's done it, but he's got the power to do it. It's not illegal what he's doing. It's really the big man culture, as you say. Big men make the rules. Tell us, how much money do you think went through his hands? At one stage, there was an allegation there was $50 million of grant some mining royalties for the Yunupingu people of Arnhem Land that went through his hands in just one decade. And as you say, he was chairman of the Northern Land Council for 25 years. How is that distributed among the 3 clans of his area?
Well, there were actually 13 clans in his area, but as chairman, he decided that only 3 of them should get any of the royalties, and he gave his own clan, the Gumatj clan, 75% of all the royalties. He gave the Yunupingu people, with whom he had a sort of a deal or a long-term relationship where Gumatj women had to marry Yunupingu men. So he had fairly close connections to the Yunupingu. They hated him, though, because he robbed them blind, and he gave them 25% of the royalties. There was another small clan which got, I think, half of 1% of the royalties. But the majority of it went to the Gumatj clan.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I remember Jennifer Sexton writing back, probably a couple of decades ago now, how Yunupingu would hold a meeting where he'd hand out that bit of the royalties that he would give away in envelopes, and people that he liked got thick envelopes, people that he didn't got very thin ones, and that just helped cement his power in the area. And of course no one was game to, or very few people were game to challenge him, because then your envelope would be very thin indeed. Keith Windschuttle, thank you so much for your time. I advise people who want to know more to look up on the Quadrant website your 3 articles on this amazing phenomenon, Ngunnawal Yunupingu. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.
I should say that Ngunnawal Yunupingu said the allegations against him were false and defamatory, and he wasn't convicted of anything, so there you go.